Ngunit tulad ng sinabi ko sa inyo sa ating messenger group, hindi ko pa tapos basahin at i-grade ang mga lahat ng prelim exams. So, bigyan nyo lang ako konting panahon. Lumampas lang ang panahon, ang takdang araw para mag-drop. Ngunit ang aking suggestion sa inyo, huwag nyo i-drop itong subject ko dahil maantala kayo sa susunod na SEM kasi prerequisite ang oblicon sa ibang business law classes. Ganito na lang ang gagawin natin. Tulungan tayo. Okay? Ayaw ko magbagsak, ngunit ayaw ko rin magpasa ng taong ikahihiya ko later on. No? Whether sa susunod na subject or sa subjects ng business law sa board exam. So magtulungan tayo. Ang aking pakay ay upang kayo ay matutunan ang mga bagay na ito. Pinag-aaralan natin. Hindi ko pakay na mapantayan nyo ang alam ko. Hindi ko rin pakay na maging kayo eksperto. Although, kung mas magaling pa kayo sa akin or maging kayo eksperto, matutuwa ako. But I'll tell you, classes, that I'm disappointed so far, looking at the prelims. And it made me reflect. Inisip ko rin kung baka meron rin akong pagkukulang dito. So, hindi ko alam kung masyado ko napabilis ang ating pagtalakay ng mga iba-ibang subjects dito sa ating kurso. So, ipapakita ko sa inyo uli. Ang ating academic calendar. Matatapos tayo December 2. Pag-October na, so more than 1.5 months ang ating nalalabing panahon. Ngayon, nung ginawa ko ang aking syllabus at tinansya ko na magkakasya yung ating buong kurso sa 3 examen, prelim, midterm at saka finals. Dahil yun ang sistema ng inyong universidad. Kung ako masusunod, hindi ako magbibigay ng ganong klaseng exams kasi masyado siyang rigid. Yun ang patakaran ng inyong pamantasan, dapat nating sundin. So, kaya natin hinati yung ating semestro such that itong preliminary examination, kung makita nyo yung arrow, ay sakop hanggang kinds of obligations. Tapos ang susunod dyan, extinguishment of obligations. Tapos pagkatapos ng midterms ay contract law. Hindi natin matatalakay kasi ang contract law kung hindi natin muna pag-aralan itong dalawang parte na to na nauna. So, ako'y kinakabahan na hindi naman tayo makakaurong sa susunod na parte ng ating kurso kung hindi ako confident na naintindihan nyo yung nangyari bago tayo mag-prelims. At tinitingnan ko yung results ng prelims, talagay ko kahit yung magagaling sa inyo, yung mga dean's lister sa inyo, meron mga confusion. So, kailangan tulungan nyo rin ako. Tatalakayin natin, babalikan natin ang ibang mga bagay-bagay na palagay ko kailangan natin i-clarify bago tayo makatuloy sa susunod na parte ng kurso. Ngunit, hindi rin pwedeng maantala ang ating pagtalakay ng mga aspeto na dapat covered bago tayo mag-midterms. So, mahirap ito, We will have some sort of hindi naman review, but we'll go back over certain subjects which are necessary to move forward. And yet, we also have to move forward and finish the subject matter that I am assigning, which is everything before contract law, before the midterms. Makikita niyo yung kalendaryo, our midterms are October 24 to 26. Matagal-tagal pa yan, ngunit siguro sawang-sawa na kayo marinig ito, pahirap ang mga konsepto rito. Pero, I remember when I was in the College of Law, one of the top professors in the college during my time, and probably for all time, was Professor Perfecto Fernandez. He was a brilliant professor. He had the polio, so he could not walk well, but he was brilliant. What he lost in his limbs, he made up for in his brain. So he taught so many subjects. Hindi ko alam kung ano ba talaga expertise niya. But I remember this. He taught it to us. All law is taxonomy. In other words, pwede kayong gumawa ng classifications lang, which is what De Leon and De Leon are doing in their book. There's a classification, and from those classifications, there are further classifications, and that's how you understand obligations and contracts. So, really, my friends, there is no way to understand my subject matter. There is no way to solve problems relating to obligations and contracts. There's no way you will pass my exams, and there is no way you will do well in the board exams if you do not read. Para na akong sirang plaka. Ewan ko, alam niyo alam plaka. Sorry, I don't have my record player here in my library. My record player is in the sala for some reason. Because the library is really full. Ang plaka is a circular vinyl plastic thing which can only be heard using a record player. And the record player has a stylus. The stylus is what picks up the sound that's embedded in the grooves of the plaka. So, alam niyo yung record player na mga tulad ng record player ko, pag naabutan mo na yung huling kanta sa plaka, iikot lang siya ng iikot unless itaas mo yung stylus. Yung record player ng tatay ko noon, made in Switzerland, nagtataas siya ng sarili niya. Ino-off niya sarili niya. Mahirap kang hanapin yun ngayon. Pabalik kasi uso ang plaka. Kaya bumili ako ng record player. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng para akong sirang plaka. Ikot lang ng ikot. Pare-pareho sinasabi. But really, there is no way you will understand Oblicon or any law subject. For those of you who will be proceeding to regulatory business law in the next SEM, or who will take up law as a second career. Okay? So I'm really dejected. Kasi doon lang sa bonus ko, nahalata ko na, hindi yata kayo nakikinig. Anong ginagamit ko? I always wear a barong. Your university, well, I taught pala at Ateneo, at La Salle and Saints Co. And I always used to wear a barong or a long sleeved shirt. But outside of UP, I've never had to wear something semi-formal or formal. This is semi-formal because it's short sleeve. Hindi nyo malang nasagot yun. Ninabali yung mga libro ko sa likod. Kahirap pakita, lalo na kung cellphone lang kayo. These books are all about military studies and military history. All of this. Up there, art. Military history all the way here. Here is my collection of Shakespeare and all the literature books. And my references. My hardcover fiction books. I don't read much fiction. I'd rather read non-fiction. And then my encyclopedias and all of the other non-fiction books. these are my special books, which are all on military studies or military history. When I was teaching at UP after I graduated, I had the idea to apply for Harvard. So I took the law exam. It was being held in Clark Air Base noon. Wala pa yung law exam na binibigay sa mga universities. At that time, you could only take the... Sa US kasi, when you take the law exam, there's only one exam for all of the schools. Okay, Harvard ka, okay, maliit lang university or college, there's only one exam. And it's administered, in the Philippines, it was administered only in Clark Air Base. So I had to go to Clark Air Base. Yung palang Clark nung panahon na yun, pag dumating ka maaga, ang daming babae na mga nag-aabang sa gate, mga lalabas ng hintay na lang mga Amerikanong lalabas ng duty. It's either they are wives of the servicemen or girlfriends, whatever, or they are prostitutes. That's what I learned the hard way while waiting at Clark at 5 o'clock in the morning, so that I could take the law school admission test at Harvard at 8 o'clock. I applied for the law degree and the master's in public policy, which is really studying military studies. You don't have to be a military man to study military studies, because actually in the United States, the experts in military theory are not soldiers. Although they teach it in the academies and military schools, many experts never served in the military. I wanted to do that. Hindi natuloy. I was shortlisted. I was never called by Harvard. Okay. We will not proceed yet with the subjects. Instead, please look at your card. Alam nyo, na-realize ko rin na siguro, kasi nandito ngayon sa bahay namin yung aming live-out maid. Our live-out maid has a son who is also studying accounting. At nagkukwentuhan kami, and then I realized, alam mo, nag-aaral siya ng accounting. Ang ginagamit niya, yung anak ang ginagamit niya lang lumang cellphone. So I can understand. Then I realized, alam mo, as a practicing lawyer, I have all of the conveniences necessary to practice my profession, work from home. You know, I have laptop, I have a big monitor, I have unlimited Wi-Fi. I realized, ibang-iba yung sitwasyon nyo. And that is probably one of the reasons also na nahirapan tayo mag-aral. So, naintindihan ko yan eh. Ngayon ko rin talaga na-realize yung hirap na dinadanas nyo. Wait, alam nyo kasi, lahat tayo nakakaramdam ng hirap. When I was starting out in the college, so well, not really undergrad, but maybe in the College of Law, it was also very difficult. Because even then, one book in law school cost 1,000 plus pesos, and you have to buy in any given semester, you have to have 10. So it was very expensive. I came from work, I was able to save some money, but I didn't have really all that much money. So lahat tayo talaga kailangan marunong mag-adapt. So alam ng ginawa ko, hindi ko kayang bumili ng 10 brand new na libro. Bumili ako ng previous edition. Ang difference lang naman ng luma. In my college kasi, the professors have their own books. So you have to use their books. You know, and it's good income for them, but it's also good for us students because we know how they're thinking. So that when they give the exams, alam namin kung more or less, saan niya kukunin yung mga tanong na yan? Siyempre kukunin niya sa libro niya. Hanapin, basahin natin mabuti, makikita natin anong style niya. Ganun yan. So you have to learn how to adapt. Hindi mo mabili yung pinakabagong edition, you buy the lower. Ang ginagawa namin, nagsisirox kami. Although at that time, we never appreciated yung sinasabi ko laging intellectual property rights of authors. I don't recommend it, but if you do, please don't tell me. Ha? Okay. So mag-adjust tayo. Kung cellphone lang tayo, maghanap tayo ng paraan na mabasa natin yung mga readings at saka yung mga notes at saka mga presentations ni Atty. Balanag. Kasi baka importante eh. Baka sakali lang. Okay, I am now presenting our exam. And the reason why I had you email it is so that you cannot change the answers because notice ko last sem, posible nilang palitan kahit naka Google Drive. Okay, first, I really timed it in such a way that you wouldn't have too much time to Google, waste your time Googling and reading for the first time, nor would I make it too difficult. So I thought that 30 minutes for 10 questions is 3 minutes each. Kung mahalataan nyo, yung ibang tanong naman ay madali. So you don't even need 30 seconds. So tignan natin yung unang tanong. Every potestative obligation is void. It's obviously wrong because kahit hindi nyo binasa mabuti si De Leon, you will know that there are valid potestative obligations. Potestative obligation is when the fulfillment of the obligation is up to one or both of the parties. The only potestative obligation which is void is one which is conditional, suspensive, wrong spelling pa ako. Potestative, suspensive in favor of the debtor. So please take a look at Article 1182 to answer that. So that's a little bit difficult but the reason why I asked this is because I had hoped that if you had read De Leon and you had gone through my lectures, alam nyo kagad kung saan hanapin yan. So I know your notes are all electronic. I hope you have your books. So it will be easy for you to find the answer to that. Second number, true or false? The 1987 Constitution protects the capitalist economic system through the non-impairment clause. It's true. I lectured on that. Diba? Sinabi ko sa inyo, the non-impairment clause is fundamental to the capitalist system. Our Constitution and the US Constitution, and I think Liberia, which follow the US Constitution, have the same provisions. You may mag-give away, tulad ng itong pangatlo, X will give his only horse. But if Y fails the 2023 CPA exam, Y will return the horse. Obviously, that's conditional. So alam niyo na, hanapin niyo yan sa conditional. Ngayon, ang tatanungin niyo, is it really suspensive or resolutory? It's resolutory. Itong pang-apat, Shara. Ewan ko may kilala kayong Shara. Took over the pharmacy business. Formally sana ilalagay ko eh. In Manila for dad, Rodrago. Ewan ko may kilala kayong Rodrago. When the latter retired to China, the pharmacist banks refused to honor the check she issued to pay the business's creditors. She showed the banks a special power of attorney from her dad, si Rodrago, and claimed she was acting under the principle of negotiorum gestio. Siya kasi if you're acting under the principle of negotiorum gestio, you are the officious manager, you're just doing this as a favor, di ba? That's one of the extra contractual obligations. Kaso ang sagot, ang linagay ko pa rito, Shara is wrong. It is true. She is wrong. Because when you have a special power of attorney, you are not acting as a officious manager. This is not covered by negotiorum gestio. When you're acting with the voluntary or the express consent of the manager who is missing. Negotiorum gestio only occurs when the business is vacated and you are only doing it as a favor. But if you are doing it because your father, named Rodrago, gave you permission to run the pharmacy business, you're acting as the agent or the appointed executive of that company. It is not covered by negosyo room. So that my explanation is even longer than how long it should have taken you to figure that out. It should have taken you 10 seconds. Ito yung napag-isipan ko, medyo mahirap nga naman. Number 5. Party Biyahe Boy, PBB. Went to the grocery to buy Coke. Coke, ha? On the way, he found a fancy Gucci handbag full of dollars. The Italians, when there is double Z, double C, it's Ch. The Ch sound as in church. Gucci. He saw an ID card with the name and address of Emilda. Ewan ko kung may kilala kayong Emilda. The bag's owner. So he went to Emilda's house, but Emilda had immigrated to Antarctica. Actually, I don't know anybody who's immigrated to Antarctica, so I was just trying to be funny. PBB kept the bag because he believed he now owned it. Wala yung owner. Ano pang gagawin niya? Actually, I realized, I talked about this, I remember explicitly. That's why I asked it, because I lectured on this. But, baka hindi nyo nakita sa readings nyo because actually, we talked about this early during the semester. This is really in the revised penal code. I told you, when you take something which does not belong to you and you do not return it, that is theft. Theft is when you take something from somebody, di ba? May katabi ka sa klase, kinuha mo yung cellphone nyo, that is theft. But it's also theft when you find something and knowing it is not yours, you do not make an effort to return it to the proper owner. And what has the Supreme Court said about what is the proper way to return something that you have found? You turn it over to the local government or the police. In other countries, like Japan is the most notorious. Mag-iwan ka lang ng kulangot, ibabalik nila sa'yo eh. Yeah, talaga, the Japanese are so honest. Taiwanese too. So if you lose your wallet in the subway or in a hotel or wherever, kahit sa daan, sa Japan, at yan ay napulot, babalik yan sa'yo, tiyak yan. Because they will look at your ID, they will find you. My God, even if you don't put your address, you don't put what hotel you're staying in, they will find you and return your wallet. The Japanese are so notorious for this. Because the local government will expend all efforts once it's turned over to them. So you turn it over to the police or you turn it over to the city hall or the representative of the local government. They will find a way to return it. If not, sa Japan, maraming hindi na ibabalik. For some reason, hindi na ibabalik, hindi na kiklaim. They sell it. So you can buy things very cheaply, owned by others legally. If you attend the sales, yung auction sale nila, they're selling bags, Gucci, Longchamp, all of the expensive brands, Louis Vuitton. You can get all of those almost for free in the auction sale by the local government when nobody claims it. The last is, I shall pay you when I have the money. This is exactly from the provision of Article 1180. It is not an impossible obligation unless wala talaga siyang pera. Di ba? This is an obligation with a period. So, given the range of answers that were given to me in this true or false, I realized we have to clarify a few things. That's why bukas, ngayon, isang session lang tayo, both sections. So that's 1.5 units for this week. The other 1.5 units, I will give you an activity. So ang gagawin natin ngayon, mga kaibigan, we will have a joint session where on Saturdays where I will lecture so that we can cover the material, okay, and we can follow my schedule for the course syllabus. The second part is on Sundays. You owe me 1.5 hours, di ba? You will have a reading assignment and you will have ganun rin, a time-constrained exercise, writing exercise where you have to submit it to me. at a certain time, and I will read it. And I will grade it. Ang iniisip ko kasi, rather than have midterm siguro, lahat itong maiiksing mga quizzes na to, ipagsasama-sama ko to, yan na yung midterms nyo. Para hindi na kayo mag-alala. You worry about your other classes. Don't worry about having to review for this. Because what I will do, didikdikin ko kayo tuwing linggo sa mga pag-aaral natin. Before we get to the rest of the prelim exams, this is what I noticed. Di ba sinabi ko sa inyo yung prelims kasama yun yung inyong reaction paper? Ito lang na po na ako sa reaction paper nyo eh. Yung reaction paper nyo, I gave you a reading and I asked you certain questions based on the reading, and I gave you instructions that it should be short and whatever, di ba? And how you should title it. And then I gave you leeway on how to answer it. Ngayon, I'll tell you, this is what professors do when they read essays. You know? We look for keywords. Because, of course, we know the reading. And we know what is the expected answer. So, all we do when we read your essay is look for the keywords that we expect to see. If you don't use those keywords, and where do those keywords come from? They come from the reading. If you don't use those keywords, then it makes us think you're malayo kayo doon sa reading. No? So I gave you readings on the non-impairment clause. I expected, in the Constitution, I expected certain keywords that would appear based on the reading. Huh? And of course, your own opinion. I respect your opinion. So that is why, really, I passed everybody, of course, except for one or two who were really terrible. Walang malayo sa reading. But ganito, I don't feel like failing anybody. So I just assigned scores to them commensurately with our exam. So yung hindi pasado, actually 3 yun. Okay? Partida ko na sa inyo. But please, ganito I will not always be very forgiving. When I give a reading, of course, I expect you to read it. The second is I expect you to understand it, because I will not give you a reading na hindi angkop sa kakayanan nyo at hindi angkop sa ating tinatalakay. Okay? So, kung titingnan nyo yung aking personal lecture notes, I have so many readings there that are for lawyers, for legal scholars. But I do not give them to you. I give them to me. There are readings there on Roman law, the development of contract law and the Roman law. I don't give them to you. There's Supreme Court cases that have to do with certain things about contracts and obligations. I don't give them to you. It's for me. Because my duty as professor is to synopsize, to just shorten this and point it out to you, because these are developments that may not be in your books. Wala yan sa De Leon and De Leon. Kahit balik na rin yung libro. So, when I give a reading, please read it and please understand it, and then answer the question. Ito ang nahalata ko sa inyo, lalo na yung mga hindi magandang performance dito sa prelims. And this is an instruction to you on how to take exams. Not only mine, but in the other subjects, and especially when you take the board exams. First, read the problem. So let us go to the problem of the goat. So I give the facts, Ito yung facts, the date, what are their motivations for buying, what is the motivation for selling. These are the facts. Diba? So you try to remember the facts already. What is an important fact here? The date. Diba? Kasi we're talking about kinds of obligations, whether it's conditional or with a period or alternative or whatever. So you have to know dates are important. When you are already CPA, when you are already accountants in a firm, or when you are business people with your own companies, the date of a transaction is very important, because you have to know when you have to comply and you have to know when you have to demand, and you have to know what you can collect. Diba? That is the reason why you are sitting here in my class, to learn all of these things and apply them later on. Because this will save your company, or this will save your business money, or protect its interests. So you note the date. Then you answer the questions. Read the questions carefully. Read the questions carefully and only answer that which is asked. You have to, maraming tricky questions. Tignan nyo yung mga sample questions ni De Leon and De Leon. Madali pa yan. Sa board exam, the board exam questions I have seen, they are tricky. Ano, sasabihin nila, answer only one, question number 1 or question number 3. Mga ganon, eh? So you have to read carefully and only comply with what is being asked. Do not answer more. Unless it's an essay and you answer more, that means you really studied, okay? So on September 12, Bong is selling a goat. And on September 12, Sarah wants to buy the goat. But she only wants it for 1,500. Bong wants 1,800. 2,000. But actually, Sarah has 1,800 pesos. Siyempre, when you are the buyer, gusto mo tumawad, di ba? All of those facts are irrelevant in this question. Did you notice? The only relevant thing is that Sarah paid partially. Is that unreasonable? Of course not, because this is a reciprocal obligation of sale. The seller wants to sell, the buyer wants to buy. And as a sign of good faith, the buyer pays for half, so that she will pay the other half once she receives the goods. Diba? That's, I think, fair. Okay. So when Sarah paid half, she's already paid. Or the law considers her paid. Diba? Kung hindi siya po magbayad when she receives the goat, ibang issue na yon. But as far as the law on contracts is concerned, there is now an existing contract. Because Sarah has agreed to buy the goat for a price that Bong is willing to accept. And they all agreed on 1,750, di ba? Oh, 1,750. Sarah is now a good faith buyer. She has partially paid, and she is willing to pay the other half. It is Bong who did not deliver the goat on time. And because of that delay, yung kambing nagkasakit. Payat na payat. I hope you were able to find out what is the meaning of the word emaciated. If you Google that, it would take 2 seconds. Is she entitled to a refund? Of course. Because Bong was in delay. Not only was she in delay, because of his delay, nagkasakit yung kambing. So it is not in the same condition as she would have expected it. What is another important fact given the facts? The goat was pregnant on September 12. And why is that significant? On September 12, Sarah already offered to buy the goat and already partially paid for it. She owns the goat and she owns the kid. Kid is the baby of a goat. So all of the other questions are based on that. Very simple na. So the second question in this problem, Bong sold the goat's offspring, the kid, on September 18. Tagal na, to Digong. Hindi ko alam kung may kilala kayong Digong. Chinese trader. Sarah tried to stop the transaction. Is she right? Of course she's right. She owns that kid on the principle that the thing must be delivered together with its fruits. Di ba pinag-aralan natin yan? Okay. Nahimasmasan si Bong, so he decided to give the goat, the kid, after all, to Sarah. Kaso, pininiwan niya sa labas ng kanyang may palasyo pala si Bong, hindi ko alam. May palasyo siya, may damo. Nakain ng maliit na kambing yung damo, tamaan ng lightning. So what does this already tell you, students? We're talking about an act of God. Diba? Fortuitous events. So doon pa lang, alam niyo na kung saan niyo hanapin ang sagot. Is this an act of God? It is. Is Bong now free from the liability to deliver the kid to Sarah as the fruit of the goat which he delivered earlier? He is not. The general rule in fortuitous event is that a person is not liable for a fortuitous event. But there are exceptions, and we studied this, and we will study this further. These are the readings I will give you today, later on. One of the exceptions to being exempt from the defense of fortuitous event is if you are in delay or if you committed some form of negligence or fault. That's why the fortuitous event occurred. Diba? What was the delay or fault on the part of Bong? He should have given the kid right away because it was together with the goat. And by delaying in giving it, he assumes the burden na, kung may mangyari dyan, kasalanan mo. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng liability for fortuitous event when you are in delay. That is in Articles 1173 to 74, and you have to also look at 1171. These are all related. So finally, what can Digong? Remember Digong? I don't know if you know anybody named Digong, but Digong here is the Chinese trader who was supposed to get, who already paid for the kid. What can he do? Of course, he can sue Bong. Since this is specific performance, he has to deliver a certain goat. He cannot deliver just any goat. Since he cannot deliver the kid anymore, he's liable for its value, as well as any damages that Digong may have incurred, di ba? Halimbawa, balak sanang patabain yan at palakihin, kikita siya ng malaki, di ba? Hindi siya interesado sa kambing lang na maliit. Gusto niya patabain yan, i-breed niya, magkaroon siya maraming kambing pa, at ibenta. So, he lost that opportunity. It's a monetary loss to Digong, and for which he should be compensated. The law always favors the party who has been deprived of his or her rights. And in this case, in this problem, it is Digong who lost that right because of Bong's act of selling the kid to another person, knowing that it really belongs to Sarah. So looking at your answer so far, I'm sure some of you did well and answered it well. I'm not saying that kayong lahat mali, ano? But I'm telling you, these are the answers that I'm looking for. And I realized we have to go over these things more carefully. Ang aking expectation kasi nung tayo nagsimula ng kurso na to, parang nung pagturo ako last year ng credit transactions, ay sumusunod kayo sa aking pagle-lecture, binabasa nyo rin yung civil code at binabasa nyo rin yung libro ni De Leon and De Leon. Lagi ko sinasabi yung De Leon and De Leon, wala akong kita dyan. I do not profit from that. But what I mean is that if you have that book, it will help you a lot because the De Leon and De Leon 2021 edition is quite well laid out. Unlike the earlier books when it was just De Leon, the old man, who was still alive then, was doing his books. But I guess the De Leon books are really made for business students, not law students. Okay. I was hoping that you were following me. Kaya nga itong problema ko sa inyo mga students, you're showing your thumbnail photos. I don't even know if you're really present in the room. Now, like I told you, I come from UP. I really don't care. Kung ayaw nyo makinig, ayaw nyo makita ako, ayaw nyo sumunod sa lecture, ayaw nyo magbukas ng libro, sundan ako word for word, bahala kayo. Ang problema ay kung magkakaroon tayo ng exam na tapos bokya naman, di ba? Yun ang mahirap. Gawin nyo yan kung magaling talaga kayo. So, ito ang aking suggestion. Proceeding after the prelims, marami pa tayong tatalakayin, mga kaibigan ko. Really, you have to have your civil code out. If you don't have De Leon and De Leon, for some reason you cannot afford 300 pesos, a book which you will use later on in other courses, then you have to follow me in my lectures, and you have to follow me in the civil code provisions. Ha? Ang mahirap, kung nalata niyo si Attorney Balanag, I'm not an expert in civil law, but I know civil law because I passed the bar exams. And I apply civil law in my cases. Even if I'm a criminal lawyer, when I ask for advice or even when I handle criminal cases, there are civil law aspects and I have to know them. So I do know civil law, and so when I discuss our provisions and obligations contracts, I don't go provision by provision. If you notice, sometimes I go ahead. Kasi may provision na ito sinasabi, but I will point out to you, please look ahead dito sa article na to later on in the book, in the civil code, kasi it's relevant. Okay? So please, you have to catch those things. When I'm lecture, I'm not doing it just to bore myself or to bore you. These are all relevant things, and they will come out, if not in my exams, if not during recitation, then maybe during the board exams. Okay? And it may even come out when you're already practicing or when you have your own business. So really, students, ganitong policy natin ngayon, since we will only have one Saturday joint class, please keep your cameras on so that I have some feedback that you are present. Because I will not trust you anymore that you are following me on my lecture. Because really, my feeling is that you're not following me. And if you're not following me, you will have problems, not only during the exams, but you will have problems understanding our course. And guys and gals, I'm not doing this for the salary. I'm doing this because I want to impart knowledge. And I want, alam mo, when my students in high school and college, when they became successful, later on, when I was in the College of Law, when I was a lawyer, nababalitaan ko, tulad yan si General Browner, who is Chief of the Army. He was my student in high school. I was teaching English in high school. Yun lang ang item na available sa high school. I wanted to teach in the high school. I taught English. He was a very good student. And when he became the spokesman during the Marawi siege, he was very proud. He was a very brave young man. I've never seen him since high school, since I was teaching, but I'm proud. I want to feel that. Yun lang ang aking habol bilang teacher. If Miss Dadovo or Miss Imbok become famous or become prominent accountants, head sila ng accounting firms na malalaki o kasama sila sa association ng mga certified public accountants o nag-MBA sila o nag-magna cum laude sila sa kanilang MBA, summa cum laude. Wow, who would be prouder? Of course, your parents will be proud. Your boyfriends, girlfriends, or your spouses or better halves will be proud. I'll also be proud. Sasabihin ko, estudyante ko yan si Miss Haral. At magaling yan. Kaya yan naging presidente ng Unilever Philippines. Ganon, di ba? Yun lang ang aking katuwaan sa trabaho ito. So please, take it seriously. Make me proud. That's what I always say to my nephews. My nephews who are already in college. Okay, so I have not prepared lecture for today. My objective today was to tackle the prelims so that we know how to proceed here on, ano? And you know how these exams are done. Kung makikita nyo, more or less yung style ng exam ko, style rin ng sample questions ni De Leon and De Leon sa kanilang libro. So, it's really good rin to see what De Leon, you don't have to do every, alam nyo, we had, ito calculus, di ba? Because I is in engineering. So, we had to do, we had a book called Vance. Vance is the recommended textbook in UP for calculus. Advanced calculus. So, ang Vance kasi, meron niya, ganyan ang parang De Leon, may test question sa end. Now, Vance has been used for decades sa UP. So, sa Diliman pala, meron ng, alam mo sa, kung akala mo magaling ka, this is the nice thing about college. Kung akala mo magaling ka, di ba? Galing ang Baguio, punta ako Diliman, akala ko magaling na ako. Pagkarating ko sa Diliman, na-realize ko, damay pa marang mas magaling. Sa Diliman, yung Vance, yung mga test questions, napakahirap. Kahit professor ko minsan, hindi nila ma-explain yung sagot. Meron pala mga estudyante, yung mga mautak, nag-cum laude, nagtuturo na yata ng calculus. Nasagot na nila yan. And their blue books, where they wrote down their answers, are being sold. I'm not saying you should do that. Hindi ko kayo nahanapan ng racket. But what I say is that it's good to go over De Leon and De Leon, look at the sample question. You don't have to answer all of them, just to see how are problems in obligations and contracts framed. How do I approach questions in obligations and contracts? How will I take this course 2 or 3 years from now when I take the board exam? How will I answer these questions? Diba? Yun ang pakay natin. Pag pumasa kayo ng CPA, don't forget Oblicon. Kasi like I told you, very practical ang course natin. Lalabas yan, maalala nyo ako forever. Whether I'm right or wrong, maalala nyo ako. Okay, so the purpose really of going over today, over the preliminary questions, is to get to already acquaint you with the fact na ganito talaga mga tanong. And to tell you that you should be smart in answering questions. You have an average of 3 minutes to answer each question. The first thing you do when you get a questionnaire is tingnan nyo na lahat ng tanong. Whether it's only 10 questions or it's 100 questions or it's 1,000 questions, it's always the same technique. Go over all of the questions, tingnan nyo na kung saan kayo mahirapan. Kasi mahirapan kayo, balikan nyo na lang. Unahin nyo na yung madali. Kasi yung madali, at least may punto na kayo. Diba? So, going over exam, is a true or false, madali yan. But you know, a true or false question where you have to explain why, if it's false, already gives you a clue. Si Attorney Balanag, marami yung itatanong na false. Kasi otherwise, napakadali lang kanyang exam. Pero utakan tayo, di ba? So, alam nyo na dito sa true or false questions, malamang maraming false dyan. Kasi gusto ni Attorney Balanag, magpaliwanag kayo. So, tama nga, di ba? Ilan lang naman ang true. So, yung mga true, 1 second lang yun, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. 30 seconds, matagal na yun. Di ba? Kung mag-google pa kayo, hanapin nyo sa libro nyo. So, an average of 3 minutes per question, when it's a problem, is actually more. You have 3.5 minutes for 1 minute of which is writing. Ano? Madali yan sa inyo. Kayo mga bata. Magaling kayo mag-type. Ako, I type with 2 fingers, mali-mali pa. Nakita nyo kanina, di ba? May wrong spelling ako. Kukunin ng aking school, meron ako convent school. Yung aking best speller award. Best speller in grade 6 yata or something. Okay. So, yun ang style dyan. You have to take an exam smart. Tingnan nyo na kung ano yung madali. Tingnan nyo ano yung mahirap. Tingnan nyo kung ano yung mga kailangang Lalo na yung problem. Tignan nyo kung ano yung kailangan nyong alam. At kung hindi nyo alam, paano nyo huhulain? That is part of thinking smart. Pag hindi nyo alam yung sagot, may ka-guess, malay nyo makapag-chamba kayo. Diba? So, tingnan nyo to. Itong problem. It requires you to explain, diba? Itong problem ng goat. You have to explain. So, mini-essay yan. Mini-essay. So, while it is objective, you have to explain a little bit. So, you have to give yourself time to write. Not only should you have the correct objective technical answer, the technical answer required by the question, you have to be able to explain it in a legible, comprehensible way. Ito ang pangalawang nahalata. Ito isa pa ko pang nahalata sa inyong reaction paper at saka sa inyong exam. Yung mga nakita ko na. When you have an examiner or when you have a professor, alam nyo kami yung mga nagtuturo, alam namin kung binubola nyo kami. We know when you are just giving us word spaghetti or word salad. Ito nahalata ko sa inyong mga sagot. I said this before, I'll say it again. I'm sorry to say this. Ako, because of my profession and because of my background, I told you I grew up in the gold mine. In the gold mines in Baguio, outside of Baguio, the senior officers of the company are all American. They're all white. No blacks during the time that I was growing up. The middle and junior management, where my father was, are Filipinos and some whites, mga junior engineers, the office managers. Middle management, generally Filipinos. So kami mga Pinoy, ang exposure namin talaga yung mga Kano. So I spoke English even when I was born. Nung pinala ako ng Dr. Ouch ang sinabi ko, hindi aray. So Englishero talaga ako. I'm proud of that because like I told you before, English has allowed me to read. Ano yung binigay sa inyo reading? Keats! I gave you a sonnet by Keats. A beautiful sonnet. I always loved that ever since high school. To one who has long in city pent, it's very sweet to look into the fair and open face of heaven to breathe a prayer. Just because I'm a lawyer and I have to deal with the civil code with 3,000 provisions does not prevent me from appreciating a good poem from time to time. Neither should you. Please read something other than what you are reading for this class so that you have a wide intellect. Okay? At bakit ko sinabi yan? You have to be able to convey your answer, your ideas, in a comprehensible way. Now, ang iba sa inyo, inisip nyo na kung gawin yung komplikado yung pananalita, pagsusulat nyo, ay mas impressive yon, no? Which is not true. I always advise, especially those who are having trouble with the English language, to just keep to the simple model of answering, which is subject, predicate, direct object. Yun lang, napakasimple. You don't have to use compound, complex sentences. You don't have to use fancy conjunctions and articles and quotations, just a simple, sir, the answer is, Bong is wrong because he incurred delay. Ganun lang. No need to beat around the bush. Do not give me or your professor or your examiner during the board exams word spaghetti or word salads, you know? Kasi it already warns us that nambobola lang kayo. When I give you an essay and I tell you to react to it, or when you are writing a semi-essay, like when you answer the questions in the exam, mag-ingat kayo sa cut and paste. Ha? When you cut and paste, you make sure that what you're cutting and pasting is appropriate. And that your introduction to the cut and paste and how you use the cut and paste is appropriate to what you're saying or what the question requires. Do not cut and paste just because you think the answer is there. Huh? Otherwise, do not cut and paste, put it in your own words. Now, I'll warn you, cutting and pasting in the academe is very dangerous. Huh? If you cut and paste for your thesis and you do not indicate the source from which you cut and paste, and not only that, before your thesis panel, if you cannot justify why you cut and paste, why you quoted that particular thing, maapektuhan yung pagpasa ng inyong thesis. Huh? Because plagiarism is a no-no in the academy. In the academe, I don't know if it is, but I'm sure it is in URS. It is prohibited in any good institution of learning. So, mag-ingat kayo sa cut and paste. I am saying this not only because I observed it in your reaction paper and in your exams, but I will be giving you more and more essays and many essays, and I expect you to show some improvement in your writing style by the end of the semester. Otherwise, I will pass you, but I will warn you not to have a review class siguro, or to study harder. Because you will have difficulty in the next one. And what will happen in the next one? Baka ako uli ang professor nyo. Patay kayo sa akin. Kahit pinasaka kayo noon, kung ganyan pa rin ang ugali nyo, hindi pa rin kayo natuto paano magsulat ng tamang salaysay, magkakaproblema tayo sa next course. Okay? Papasa ko kayo sa next course, baka wala na akong pakialam. Okay? Nakita niyo ba ito? Abraham Sarmiento has taken one of the martial law victims. This is the motto of my university. And this is the reason, here comes the lecture part. This is the reason why I went to college, and this is the reason why we go to a public university. Ladies and gentlemen, kayo, ako, nag-aaral sa isang pamantasan ng bayan. Ano yung sabihin nun? Sa inyo, libre lahat. Diba? Libre ang pag-aaral. Ang gastos nyo na lang, yung pang-araw-araw nyo, yung wifi, syempre, tsaka yung libro, tsaka reading materials, pag Xerox, diba? Actually, kung ako masusunod dyan, dapat libre kayo sa lahat, pati libro. Tapos yung Xerox, dapat may Xerox na libre sa pamantasan. Kung ako masusunod. Kaso hindi ako masusunod. Wala akong confidential funds. Yun ang mahirap. Walang boboto sa akin. Kahit sarili kong aso, hindi boboto sa akin. Okay. Basahin natin to. Sino ang kikibok kung hindi tayo kikibok? Sino ang kikilos kung hindi tayo kikilos? Kung hindi ngayon, kailan pa? That is the exhortation to us in the state universities, in every university, because I think Abe Sarmiento came from Ateneo or LaSalle, one of those things. May tag-UP rin siya. Tayong mga nag-aral sa pamantasang pambansa, whether it's UP or URS or Benguet State University or Laguna State University, meron tayong obligasyon sa ating bayan. Kasi kahit papano, hindi ako libre nung sa UP ako. I paid tuition fees because my father was working. Even the College of Law, I paid tuition fees. But those tuition fees that I paid at UP are a lot less than tuition fees paid at Ateneo or LaSalle or even University of the East, which is considered a cheap university to study in. So, ako, nahiya naman ako. Nagka-discount ako sa universidad ko eh. Wala rin akong magbalik, di ba? Now, technically, nakapagbalik na ako because ang panata ko is to serve the government for 5 years, which I did. Naikwento ko sa inyo, I worked in the Senate. I was head of the Intercountry Adoption Unit. I went to The Hague in the Netherlands to help negotiate the Hague Convention on Intercountry Adoption, which the Philippines is a proud member of. After that, I left and I practiced na. Tapos na yung aking obligasyon sa tingin ko. But, we still serve our country. Even if we are not working in government. Because, mahal natin ating bayan. Gusto natin itong umunlad. Ayaw natin itong pagnanakawan. Ayaw natin itong paurong, paatras, sa halip na paharap, paabante ang bayan. Ayaw natin yan. Bakit? Ako, I'm turning 63 tomorrow. And I'm getting old. Why do I still keep doing this? I can sell this house for a lot of money, retire somewhere, join my daughter in Europe. Diba? But why do I keep doing it? Why do I still love my country? Why do I still want to give back? Because that's who we are. And I want you to be like that. Hindi ito obligasyon. Ito ay ating panata. We want to serve our country even if we enjoy the fruits of our professions. Bakit ko sinasabi to? I want you to look at your studies with dedication. Nakakalibre na nga kayo. Kung hindi pa kayo mag-aaral mabuti, sayang lang yung pagkalibre sa inyo, sayang panahon niyo, sayang yung pag-asa ng yung mga magulang o sino man nagmamahal sa inyo o tumutulong sa inyo mag-aaral. At mahirapan din kayo later on. Kahit sabihin niyo natin makatsamba kayo. At pasa kayo sa board exam, makahanap ng trabaho. Kung hindi naman gagawin magaling kayo, sayang rin. You have to excel in what you do because you are carrying the name of your university. Ako, I've been a graduate of UP 3 times. High school, college, and the College of Law. I taught in my university. I taught in my high school. Hanggang ngayon, tatanungin ka, pag may kausap ako, sabi niya, pare, okay yung sinabi mo. Saan ka ba nagtapos? O hindi ba nakakatuwang sabihin? Bakit? Bakit mo tinatanong? Hindi, galing lang sinasabi mo eh. O di ba nakakatuwang sabihin? Sa UP lang naman. Di ba? O sa URS lang naman. Di ba? Sarap pakinggan. And you are doing your university proud. So, I hope to inspire you, Our dedication to our dedication to our craft, whatever it is lifelong. So after this class, I will give assignments, reading assignments, and I will catch those who do not read because afterwards there is a writing assignment. Okay? And you have to be able to answer the questions in the writing assignment based on the reading. Wag niyo na akong bigyan ng word spaghetti at word salad. Okay? If you can only manage a simple sentence in the subject, predicate, direct object model, that's all right with me. This ain't Shakespeare. If you are capable of writing in a fluent style like Keats or Shakespeare, I don't mind. But if you can't, don't try to pretend, okay? Answer in a simple way, answer directly, give me the information or the opinion that I want. I will send you the readings and I'll send you also the question after I have given the readings. Okay, so 2 stages yan bukas. I'll give you the readings, so I'll give you the entire day to read it. Kasi hindi ko alam, meron tulad ng mga nagbigay ng excuses sa exams, meron kayo religious obligations, may family obligations kayo, linggo bukas, I understand that. Kaya nga ayaw ko mag-classes ng linggo. Ewan ko bakit binigyan ako ng klase sa linggo, sayang lang. But this is the way we're going to do it. You will have readings, I'll give you a time period to answer. Ganun ulit parang exam. Pag lumampas kayo sa period, I'll give you time to send it. If you don't send it within if you don't send it within the time, bagsak kayo. Simple yung usapan. Those who submit, I will now determine if you meet the standards that I will give. I'll give you a grade. Okay? Yung grade na yan, tuwing linggo, pagsasama-sama ko yan ang siguro nang gagawin ko midterm. I'm not saying that's what I'm going to do. What I'm saying is that probably that's what I'll do, because I think that if I do that, I can monitor if you're actually reading what you're supposed to be reading and applying what you're supposed to be, what knowledge I'm supposed to impart. So I feel naman useful. May sayang yung barong ko pa, mahal magpa-laundry ng barong. Okay, so expect 2 messages sa ating messenger group. One is to give you the readings, but I will not give you the questions yet, because otherwise you'll have the entire day to do it, which defeats the purpose of giving you what is essentially a quiz. Okay, so I'll give you questions at a certain time through the messenger group, and then like the exams, you send the answers to me in my Gmail account. Please, if some of you know my Yahoo account, please don't contact me there, because I use the Yahoo account for other purposes. Gmail, ito okay lang. Kasi in Gmail, puno lang yan ng mga Shopee, Lazada, gano'n. So, okay lang yan. You send your answers to there. If you don't give the answer, bagsak ka doon for that particular exercise. Ngayon, hindi ko alam anong dapat kong gawin sa mga, kung sino sa inyong may nahihirapan because of technical difficulties. Kay brown out, kay maingay, kay walang wifi, o sira ang cellphone, o sila ang laptop. I really don't know. Please, so if you have any ideas about how we can remedy or how we can help you with your technical problems, please say it also sa messenger group. I don't entertain comments in the messenger group kasi I don't want to be buddies with you. So that's why I'm not accepting friend requests in Facebook. I don't want to be buddies with you at this time. So I don't want to be too casual. But definitely, if it's something related to the subject matter, or if there's a subject question that's relating to these topics that we tackled, or if you notice something wrong in what I said, by all means, contact me in the messenger group or through Gmail. Okay, my Google Gmail account. One final note, di ba tayo nag-submit tayo sa Gmail ni Attorney Balanag yung mga sagot? I gave instructions on how to send your answers. I gave a format. Not all of you followed it. Technically, alam nyo, kung i-check ko yung inyong exam, dapat magde-deduct ako dyan for failing to follow instructions. Passing the exam, passing a quiz or exam is not simply a matter of answering. It is also a matter of complying with the rules set by the examiner. Why do I say this? In this subject or in other subjects or during the board exams or when you are already actually working, you have to be able to follow instructions carefully. Bakit? Si Miss Anore, pag CPA na siya, at siya ang tax compliance officer ng Citibank Philippines. Malaking trabaho yan. Tax compliance officer. Ibig sabihin, siya ang magtitiyak na tama yung sinasubmit na tax documents ng kanyang kumpanya. An international company sa BIR ng Pilipinas. She cannot submit those documents based on her own rules. You cannot submit documents to the BIR following your own rules. You have to follow documents following the BIR in their own rules. So you have to follow the instructions. Mali o tama, yun ang gawin nyo. So, this is the last time I will tolerate it. When I give you instructions, not only on how to answer, what are the questions and how they are supposed to be answered, but also the format in which your answer should be framed in. I told you to give your section name and your surname and first name only in the subject line. Please do that. Okay? An email has several fields, di ba? There's the name of the the maker, there is the name of the recipient, and there is the name, and there is a subject field, di ba? So you fill that subject field according to the instructions that I gave. Many of you in your exams, you did not even fill out the subject field. Now, that's a minor thing. That's why hindi ako nag-deduct. It actually subject you for deduction at one point. For not following instructions. Because in real life, ladies and gentlemen, pag kayo professional na, you have to follow instructions. Right or wrong. After you follow the instruction of the BIR and you find there's something wrong, you write the chief of the BIR and say, Madam, sir, your instruction in revenue order number ganito is wrong. But I complied before I wrote this letter. Please correct it. Nakakahiya kayo. Binabayaran namin ang inyong sweldo. Di ba? Ganon. So, tomorrow, I'll be quite busy. I'll be at a hotel. So, I don't know if I even have Wi-Fi. I expect they would. They were paying so much money. But I'll be doing other things. So I'll just give the instructions for the readings, and then I will send the link for the questions in the period at which it should be submitted. I'll try to check as many answer sheets as I can tomorrow. I don't know if I can finish all of those because may hearings naman ako and other work during the weekday. So please bear with me. I hope you understand my situation also. I also have to comply with the rules of the university. But if you look at the civil code, substantial compliance with an obligation in good faith will mitigate whatever liability I have for a little delay. Diba? Nasa civil code yan, hanapin nyo. So, we have a little time. I will give you the readings probably later. Any questions? Okay, so I'll see you folks. Have a good day. Please expect the readings. Expect 2 messages tomorrow. By tomorrow, the readings that you are supposed to read, there will be links there or the document itself that you're supposed to read, and then the questions which I will ask in the time period in which you're supposed to answer it with instructions on how you are supposed to send it to me, which you must comply with faithfully. Okay? Time to be professional, guys and gals. This is serious work. Obligations and contracts is serious. Is a serious subject, and I intend to teach it seriously, and I intend you to study it seriously. So, have a good day. Ano ba yung huli? Huling question. The books. I already told that. I mostly collect military books. Okay, so see you guys. Goodbye.
Sir, picture po muna.
Ay, oo nga pala, picture muna. Mag-uubad na sana ako ng barong. Buti na lang. Hindi nyo alata, nagbabarong ako itong hearing. Ay, itong meeting, session. Teka na.
Smile po. Wait lang po, isa pa po.